Hello and welcome back, I hope you're well. In today's video I'm going to be doing a little sketchbook session and it's going to be all about head studies. In last week's video I talked about one of the exercises I do to improve at head drawing, and today I'm doing a full spread of that exercise all in ballpoint pen, which you can see me starting to do here. I used just black pen this time, and the particular pen I'm using is just a 4-in-1 Bic ballpoint pen. This one has black, red, green and blue in it, and I generally mainly go with black and blue for sketching, but I do occasionally switch it up and use different colours. I do also have the fun colour range, I believe that's what they call it, of the 4-in-1, which has purple, light green, light blue and pink in it. And I like to switch it up and sketch with those sometimes for my study sessions as well. I recently did a full sketchbook spread in my Strathmore Mixed Media sketchbook of mountain lion poses using the purple ballpoint pen. And I posted a YouTube short of that recently if you're interested in checking that out. I just posted one of the poses in that, but I did record the full sketchbook session, so I might upload that as a full YouTube video soon for you as well. This first head was a warm-up sketch for me. It was the first one I did, the first drawing I did for the day. So I was warming up with this one and also trying to figure out how I wanted to go about this particular study session in terms of, did I want to study the lighting? So I tried some different hatching, and also she was wearing glasses, I noticed, with this set of reference that it was very glasses heavy, and two of the reference images this one included were sunglasses, so I couldn't see the eyes. The reference that I'm drawing from are all from Earth's World, which I talked about in last week's video as well. You can find Earth's World on Instagram and also the website earthsworld.com. I'll leave all of that information in the description below. And this exercise I do for improving head drawing is all about observational sketching, and I use Earth's World for this particular exercise because I want variety in terms of face shape and facial features, age, weight ranges, all the variety, and Earth's World provides that because it's all different people of all sorts of different ranges at county fairs in the US, and it's all candid photography. So you're not really going to get the Pinterest model kind of photos, which are great to study from too, but this offers me a wider range by going to this resource alongside other resources as well. If you're interested in me maybe doing a video on the resources I use to study, I can definitely go much deeper into all of the different things I do and the different things I use. This is just one exercise from quite a lot that I do to study art. I'm currently self-teaching myself art, and I have been for the last year, I'd probably say now. And I've noticed a massive increase in my skills when it comes to head drawing, but I also recognise I have a long way to go as well. It's a continuous journey for everyone, and the main things that I am focusing on with head drawing at the moment, as I outlined in the previous video, are variety in facial features, etc., expressions, and what was the other one? I don't have them in front of me, I've got them written down in the front of my sketchbook. What was the other one? Angles, head angles, and just generally drawing from observation a bunch to improve through mileage. And then I do also have another additional goal of improving drawing from imagination, but this exercise doesn't deal with that point. I have other exercises for drawing from imagination. And the two heads you can see that I just finished were the two that had the sunglasses, and I wasn't really sure how to do the shading on the glasses themselves. I tried like a few different methods and I'm not super sure which one I like more. I'm probably going to play around with it a little bit more. And for the rest of them, some of them do have glasses, but you could see the eyes, which I personally prefer a little bit more when I'm doing these studies. But with this particular set of reference from Earthworld, I opened up one day at a particular fair and I just said to myself that I was going to draw the first image that came up and then hit next and draw the next image and hit next and draw the next image and not skip any of them, in order to make myself draw all sorts of different angles and not potentially chicken out from anything that's difficult. So at the same time, I'm happy that I've been getting lots of practice with glasses, and sunglasses are something that I'm going to come across anyway, so I may as well try and figure out how I want to draw them. To talk a little bit about the process for how I'm approaching these sketches, the first stage, I really observe the reference image, and then I go in with really light lines with the ballpoint, which is one of its benefits. One reason why I do studies sometimes in ballpoint is for that balance between not being able to erase but also still being able to build up from light to dark. So it's not super intimidating, but I also still can't erase. And when I do the initial lay-in, sometimes I think about things like the Loomis head and similar systems like the Loomis head in order to get the structure. So really in the first stage, I'm thinking about structure, I'm thinking about proportions, and sometimes you'll see me like move my pen around because I'm measuring angles and also measuring relative proportions from one area to another. So in the first few stages, it's all about trying to figure out the proportions, the big shapes, and also just generally the structure and getting all of that laid down in light lines. And then I start going in with things like the features, the facial features, and placing those in, still quite light so that I can adjust them slightly if needed. And then in some cases I really start going in on the structure of the head itself, or sometimes like you'll see here, I darken up the features and then just go around and start darkening up the rest of the head. Sometimes I'll do a slightly different approach for each sketch depending on what feels right while I'm sketching, but in the end it's mainly starting with structure, proportions, and systems like the Loomis head and things like that, and then moving into darkening up areas as I'm confident in where they are and how they're looking, if that makes sense. And then after that, I might play around with the values a little bit. I might show some shadow shapes, especially for areas of interest like around the eyes, the facial features, the nose, and then usually under the jaw line as well. And sometimes if an image has really interesting lighting, I'll try to study the lighting on that. But the important thing is to, when I'm going into these study sessions, it's thinking about what I am studying in that session. In this session, am I studying variety? Am I studying head angles? Am I trying to study value? And I try to think of that before I start either my study session or each head. Some heads, some of the reference images of people's heads, like I said, have very interesting lighting. So when I come across one, I might be like, I really want to study the lighting on this. So before I even start with laying down the basic lines, I have that intention in my head. So I make sure I'm very intentional in how I'm studying. And that also then helps me assess how the sketch is going and also how it went when it's finished. And one of the things I mentioned in the last video about using ballpoint pen and one of its strengths for me when studying, especially self-studying, is that when I look back on this study session sketch spread, I can see my initial lay-ins because I can't erase them, and I can see where I was placing things, I can see if I had to adjust things, and I can see all of my mistakes in full, even if they're very, very light and not very noticeable immediately to people. I can still use the ghosts of them to analyze my drawings and then figure out how I can improve. And that's all part of embracing mistakes and recognizing failure as a growth mechanism, which is something that I've been working on heavily for myself and I've spoken about a little bit before. I think a lot of artists struggle with self-confidence and fear of failure, perfectionism and things like that. And I've been working on aspects of that myself, and I've noticed I've come a long way with it. I really like the quote from the YouTuber Struthless, which is, I'm gonna probably butcher the full quote, but it goes something like, without accepting failure, you cannot accept success. It's something like that. The success comes through all of the failures and all of the mistakes. And again, it ties into the whole thing that people hear thousands of times from artists, the old, you have 10,000, 100,000 bad drawings in you and you have to get them out. But so many people, even though they hear that, when they look at the sheet of paper or their sketchbook, they're just like, at the idea of all of the bad drawings that they know they have inside them and they're going to have to see. And yeah, I feel you there, but I've been working on it, and I've noticed that I am a lot more comfy being uncomfy now. I've still got stuff to work on, and yeah. Going back to the drawing, the one that I'm currently doing, he had a really interesting facial expression and facial features that were really interesting and also challenging to capture. You could see his eyes behind his sunglasses. This is the same person as the second sketch I did on the spread, but in that one you couldn't see his eyes behind the glasses, whereas in this one the lighting was just right that you could see them slightly behind the tinted glass. So it was interesting trying to think how I was going to capture that and try to show that they're there but then cover them up, but make sure that they're not covered up too much, which worked out, I think. And there's so much variety and different things to capture in these photographs that it does make you think a lot more about, oh, how am I gonna show this through ink? And I love that about studying from these. It makes me use my brain. And yeah. I'm sorry for all the and yes in today's video. I am having an ME CFS day and I am full brain fogginess right now. So I'm gonna be drifting in and out of the voiceover quite a bit. But one reason I love YouTube and creating on YouTube with my chronic illness is that I can edit and record, and I can record voiceovers in all sorts of creative ways around my symptoms and around like how I'm feeling that day or that week. and I can move when I'm doing them around depending on when I'm feeling great. And yeah, it's great for that. I don't know if any of my of any people out there who also have chronic illnesses or anything of the sort can relate to that at all, but it has its own challenges, of course, but I do find it quite lovely almost how I can adjust it around my life really easily and naturally. But at the same time, you're also going to get brain foggy voiceover days, so hi. This is the final sketch now, and with this one I kind of stylized it a little bit more. I tried to stylize the expression in particular. She had her eyebrows down, she was squinting, I believe because of the light. Because she's like the only person on the spread, nearly. Not the only person, but nearly the only person without sunglasses. So that might be why. But she was squinting. And I tried to stylize that expression a bit more. Expressions are still something that I am dipping my toes into in head drawing, especially when it comes to stylizing them. And I'm hoping to explore that aspect in particular a bit more in my study plans soon. The main goals really with the sketches that I'm doing at the moment are more the variety and angles aspects necessarily than the expressions, but I get expressions practice alongside those things too by doing these. She also had a really interesting way that she was, what's the word, not holding her mouth, the way that she had her mouth, she was like partially biting her lip, but not the point to where you could see her teeth or anything. She was just like partially biting half of her lip inwards on one side, which was interesting to try to capture as well. And I'm not super confident that I did a good job with that. I tried, and I'm gonna probably try again and try some different ways of capturing that expression, because her lip more just looks like it's gone off to the side, her bottom lip. But I'm quite happy with the eyebrows and how I captured like the squintiness. But I'm definitely going to explore the mouth a bit more, I think, and see how I can capture that in different ways that are more readable. And as we approach the end of the sketch, I'll go and show you the full spread. If you drew along today, I'd love to see. I have a hashtag, I believe it's Draw With Me Dana, but I'll put it on screen. You can also tag me if you post what you drew on Instagram or TikTok. I'd love to see, and I always love chatting with you as well. Thank you for all the lovely comments. I love talking to you all, and I hope you have a lovely week, and I will see you next time. Bye.